everyone, it's Chris, the PDX Picker, back with another video where I pull some orders that have sold for me on eBay and talk about what's been going on in my reseller life, things that I have learned, some tricks and tips I've learned along the way as a part-time reseller. Today I specifically want to talk about a pretty funny, interesting trick that I learned to sell a really, in my opinion, undesirable item. Not only did it sell, it sold within just a couple of hours. So stick around after the intro song, we'll get into that topic and pull those orders.
Wanna buy that Farrah Fawcett poster? There's dispensers and a toaster. Don't know why. That kind of stuff you throw away. I'll sell on eBay.
So I am using a gimbal for the first time today. It's a little weird. Basically what it is this device that steadies your camera and kind of makes things balance out better. It's a lot heavier than I thought, so hopefully my arm doesn't die along the way. But let's pull a couple of orders, and then we'll come to that item that I was talking about, and I'll just tell you the funny little trick that I use. First item that's sold, I actually have to get it out today. Today's Monday. These are things that sold for me either late last week or over the weekend. This is a Panasonic, what is it? A Sharp QT70 boombox. Bought this for 10 bucks at an estate sale of sorts. I think this is a pretty desirable model if it's working. Long story long, I took it apart, tried to get the tape player, the cassette player working. It didn't work. But the radio works. There's a lot of things that do work on it, and I sold it for $50 plus shipping, parts only, of course. It sold really quickly, just a day or two. So Sharp QT70. There's a lot of those boombox looking vintage cassette players that have some really good money. I think the squarer they are, or the round edges don't really work well, but if it's this nice square, I mean, look, it totally looks like something you would put on your shoulder, right? And walk around like they did back in the 80s. Did they actually do that in real life? I feel like they only did that on TV. Probably just not in my small town that I lived in. This next item, really going to test my using the gimbal here. It's a pair of shoes. It took forever to sell. It sold for okay money and a good profit. Once I show it to you, I'll tell an interesting little fact about this brand. Alright, so here is what sold. It's a pair of Keen shoes. Keen shoes in general are my #1 seller. Mainly men's shoes, but I do decent when it comes to women's shoes as well. These I picked up for 2 bucks, like I said, at a yard sale, and they only sold for $17.95 plus shipping, and it took a long time. And the thing with Keens are, I believe that Keens are a really, really good brand. There are definitely models that sell a lot better than others, and in general, I don't like anything that is either not a hiking-related shoe or a sandal when it comes to Keen. This particular shoe was neither of those things, and I think it contributed to why it took forever and a day to sell. Golf items are still doing really well for me. This is something I just picked up, and I'll be honest, I was a little bit nervous about it. I didn't pay too much for it. I think I either paid around $4.95 or $7.50, one of the two. It's a Ping windbreaker jacket, and Ping is a decent brand when it comes to clothing. Much better brand when it comes to clubs, golf clubs. But that sold quite quickly for $24.99 plus shipping. It is just a plain black Ping collection, men's size large, windbreaker / rain jacket, $24.99, free shipping. Free shipping. Okay, well, let's hope that I paid around $5 for it, which the more I think about it, I would have had to. I have been trying to price things to sell lately, but that's going to cost me right around 10 bucks to ship, so not a great winner, for sure. I'm gonna pull these next 2 items one after another because it's about making lemons out of lemonade, lemonade out of lemons. I bought this Ryobi vacuum. I may have talked about it in a previous video. It was $8.99. Bought it at my thrift store, and it didn't work. I charged it up. It wouldn't turn on at all. So that was really frustrating. But I've now sold every single part associated with it. I've sold the charger. I sold the basket, or the cup that the vacuumed dirt went into. I've sold the filter. I've now sold the battery, which does not work. Parts only. Not a big money maker at all, but parts only batteries do sell, and that sold for $10.44 free shipping. It was like $10.99 originally, and I sent out a 5% offer and somebody took it. And then even this sold, which this did not work either. This is just the actual motor unit to the vacuum, and that sold for $16.99 free shipping. The other parts I made probably $40 on the other parts, and those were the least desirable, those two, but I still made probably $5 off of 2 non-working pieces of that, which is not great, but considering I made $40 on everything else, it's pretty cool, I think, that you can still make money off of broken tools. All right, we are at the item that is going to bring us to the topic of the day. So let me go ahead and pull the item, and then we'll just go into the story, the interesting fact, or the interesting thing that I learned along the way. I was at an estate sale, and it was the last day, so it was put everything in a bag for $10. I don't go to many of those because I have found that in the past what usually is there is the stuff that's not that great. It's either it was overpriced to begin with, which is nice because you can actually make it pretty good. If it was overpriced to begin with, maybe it was desirable, but nobody wanted to pay the price. But there's a lot of stuff that just maybe wasn't even overpriced. It just wasn't desirable. So I don't like to go to those days, like I said. But I went on this particular one, and this is one of the things I found. I bought it because it probably cost me $1, and it's old and vintage and just kind of cool, and I'd never seen one before. This is a Drowsy doll. It's from 1964. It has a pull string on it. She talked at one point and doesn't talk anymore, and I don't know if it'll come through on here. I think it does. She is really dirty, really gross. The clothing is super dirty. This was probably in a barn or somewhere where it was open to getting a lot of dust on it. The face is dirty. This is me. This is after cleaning it. It looked like this. Okay, so it doesn't work. It's dirty. There are, I think, we'll just say there were 6 of these listed, and 1 had sold in the last 90 days. The one that sold for like $22, and it worked. All right, so I am now at a point where I am listing this item. 1 sold out of 6 listed. It sold for $20-some. It was working and in nice condition, and I have everything the exact opposite of this. Dirty, gross, doesn't work. The only thing I have going for it is I paid about $1 for it. So I went ahead, and when I listed it, I was like, the only reason I think that this is going to sell is either very low price, and I did price it low. I priced it $19.99 free shipping. But if you think about it, you could spend, so that's $20, and the one that sold for about, let's just say $35. So we're talking about only $15 more. Somebody could buy a functioning, clean one. Why in the world would they buy this one? It wouldn't be price alone. I don't know exactly why the buyer bought this, but let me just tell you what I did in the listing, and maybe it was the listing that did it, maybe it was the price. I don't know, but let me read to you. I had a little fun with it, okay? I decided to use a little bit of my creative writing skills, and it might have worked. I don't know, but it sold, and it sold fast. So the listing title, I said, Vintage Mattel Drowsy iTalk Doll, Pull String, and then I said, this one has character. In the description, I said, no, this doll is not in great condition. She's dirty and doesn't work, but boy, does she have some character. She's been through a lot, and she wears her story on her sleeve, and her face, and all her clothing. So like I said, I don't know if that's what contributed to this thing selling. The buyer didn't message me and say something about the description. It could have just been price alone. But there's a good big part of me that thinks that the listing itself maybe had something to do with this thing selling. So what I'm trying to tell you is if you have an item that maybe isn't the most desirable when it comes to condition or whatever, probably condition in this case, go ahead and try something different. Think outside of the box. Be a little different. Be a little weird. And I wrote a little bit. I took maybe an extra 30 seconds on this listing than I normally would have. And all I can say is the results speak for themselves. She sold in the next day for full price. I had no idea if she was going to sell or not, so I'm very happy with that. So give that a shot when you have a chance. Just think outside of the box a little bit. I gotta say, sales have been I'm really pleased with sales in the month of July. June was really good. I think I had my third or fourth highest month ever, around $5,800, $5,900 on eBay and Poshmark. I am starting off July. Today is July 7th. I'm starting it off quite well sales-wise. Also, I think I am on pace for somewhere in the $4,000 range. So anything above $4,000, especially during the summer, I'm pretty happy with. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. This has all coincided with my daily reseller wisdom series on the YouTube Shorts. I started that in July. I wanted to give it a month because I really enjoy that kind of YouTubing where I get a chance to dispense some of the stuff that I've learned along the way, which may or may not be useful to you, but I hope it is. I'm enjoying putting them out. I've done 7 of them now. They are not, I was hoping to get some more subscribers from it, which that hasn't happened, but that's okay. It's not the end of the world. I'm still just enjoying it. But anyway, I'm using some of the things that I'm talking about, and I think it's helping with my sales. This item sold, bought it for $5 last year at a garage sale, and it took me forever to list it, but finally did, because that's one of the things I'm doing. I'm going pretty systematically through my death pile. I haven't sourced in about 2 weeks. I've only been taking stuff from my death pile, and it's nice because, I forget I had a lot of nice things. I had a lot of good things in my death pile. This Drowsy doll was in there, not that it's great. This item was in there. I'm going to have to set this down because I can't get it out. This is a Coleman Peak 1 model 222. Lantern from, I believe, 1980. Paid $5 for it. It sold pretty quickly for $64.99 plus shipping on that one. So this works off of like not propane, but like a white gas kind of fuel, and it's in good condition. I didn't test it out or anything like that, so hopefully it works, but definitely a nice sale. And that couples with or coincides with this, which is not great, but I had a bunch of tapes, cassette tapes that I bought. I think maybe the same place that I got the Drowsy doll. I'm not positive. Judas Priest, Skid Row, Ozzy Osbourne, and Kiss. These 4 tapes here didn't have the case, or the original cases or the cover art, but I put them in these cases that I had found. $8.99 free shipping on that. So nothing great, but probably paid 50 cents for them all because it was, again, it was stuff everything into a bag for $10, and those were pretty small. I just listed this golf club and it sold within a day. I don't think I underpriced it. I think I priced it quite fairly, and I just don't understand why some things sell so quick like this. I hope this comes through. The grip on it is pretty gross. It definitely needs to be re-gripped. The nice thing about putters is that having a grip that isn't pristine isn't the end of the world, because you're not like swinging the club with a bunch of power where it might fly out of your hands. This is a Nike Ignite 001 putter. Nike does not make golf clubs anymore. And I picked this up for $2.95, and that sold for $38.99, free shipping. I am now sending almost all of my golf clubs out FedEx Ground. Pretty much no matter where I send it, it's right around $9 for shipping. So I don't know if that's the case for you across the country, but out west, FedEx Ground is by far the cheapest when it comes to golf club shipping. Used to be UPS, now it's FedEx Ground. I don't always like FedEx. Thankfully, lately I haven't had any issues shipping with them. Hopefully that'll stay the case, stay that way. Let's pull 3 more items and call it a day. This one was interesting. I found this at a garage sale around the corner from me. I paid $5 for it. It's a hat. It's actually a beret. I saw the hat. I knew it was not your normal hat. I couldn't remember exactly what kind it was, but it is a beret, and hopefully that'll come through. It's got the Knapheide, Knapheide logo on it, which is some sort of car part. I can't remember, or car-related company. They make something. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of Knapheide normal baseball caps. I looked on Terapeak. I looked on just Google, the internet. I couldn't find any other berets anywhere ever. Who knows? There could be a bunch of them out there somewhere. But that sold for $24.99, free shipping in a couple of weeks. So just out of rarity alone, I thought it was going to potentially sell, and it sold pretty quick. I had 2 issues with things getting lost in the post office. So I had 2 buyers open up item not received cases, which I completely understand why a buyer is going to do it, because it's lost somewhere along the way in tracking, and they paid for it and they're not getting it. So I do get it. One of the issues actually was maybe there's been 3 of them. Anyway, one of them said it was delivered and the buyer didn't get it, so they opened up a case. I had to give them a refund. There was nothing I could do on there, which I know I have eBay seller protection. It's just frustrating because I wish there was an automated system in place where you could just, instead of having to contact eBay, I wish there was a way to, through the app or through the website, just say, hey, some sort of action that says, hey, eBay, I had to refund this buyer even though the item was delivered. So can you refund my money under the eBay seller protection? But there isn't. So there's that one. There's another one that the buyer said they didn't receive it. I refunded the money. And then I was checking, and like a week or 2 later, I got positive feedback from the buyer, which was very confusing to me. So I looked into it, and sure enough, after I had refunded the money, the post office did deliver the item. So there's another one where I need to request a refund from eBay on. And then the last one was just completely lost, which means I need to file an insurance claim with the post office. So there's 3 of these hanging out there. Thankfully it's not a ton of money. Probably everything added together is somewhere in the neighborhood of $50 to $75. But it's not nothing. It's not money that I can afford to just ignore. So I do need to take the time to do it, but it's just frustrating. I wish it was easier. I wish it was simpler. Like for the buyer, in this case, all they have to do is click a button or 2 and they essentially get their money refunded. But not as easy for the sellers, or at least I don't know of an easy way to do it. Maybe if there is, you can let me know. So bleep bloop down in the comments if there is an easier way. Pick this up for $1. It is a Lange, L'Ange. That's my French pronunciation trying to come out. Violet purple toning mask. Something for hair. $1, like I said, I paid for it, and that sold for $34.99, free shipping. I bought about 9 or so of these different types of beauty products, all for $1 at this fundraiser sale. That one was really good. Those all sold from like $16 free shipping to, I think this might have been one of the better ones. I think there was a $40 free shipping. So pretty good pickup on that one. Which I'm frustrated I haven't been able to go sourcing because I'm missing out on a bunch of good garage sales and fundraiser sales and things. The thrift stores are just terrible for me at this time of year. They're still super expensive, but they just don't get the number of donations that they used to in the past. So I really, garage sales are the way to go. But I was out of town for a family funeral. I've had sports related things just, well, actually last week was 4th of July, so I wasn't able to source on my normal Friday. Just been busy. Anyway, last thing to sell is this vintage Mary Kay Reviewer aftershave cologne. $18.90 free shipping on that. Picked that up in a lot of 4 different perfume aftershave cologne things that I got at my favorite thrift store for somewhere around $10, so about $2.50 each. One of those sold for like $50, another one sold for $25. So this one is just, I think there's one that didn't sell, it wasn't worth selling at all, but this one at least was worth something. So $18.90 free shipping, and definitely just that alone paid for the whole lot. So another good bit of profit on that one. That's going to do it for today's video. Thanks so much for watching. Please like this video if you did. Subscribe to my channel if you want to get more videos like this in your feed, as well as my daily reseller wisdom shorts. Just 1 to 3 minute videos where I give you little tidbits, little things that you can implement into your reselling business to hopefully jumpstart it and make it as successful as it's ever been. Good luck with all of your ventures out there, reselling or otherwise. Thank you, as always, to the PDX Posse member, Harley Gal. Still the OG awesome member. Just as always, thank you so much. So we'll catch you on the next video. So take care out there. Bye-bye.